When I was 15 years old, I dunked for the very first time on this exact rim at my local high school.
Yeah, this was a stupid idea.
Now my main job is a sports performance trainer. I teach high school, college, and professional athletes to become better athletes, essentially. I'm also a boys basketball coach here at Carrick High School.
Straight to the defense, that's insane.
The same exact high school that I graduated from and got my first dunk at. Now I've helped pretty much half of the high school basketball team get their first dunk and improve their sport performance. And I helped this athlete right here gain 14 inches on his vertical jump from his sophomore to his senior season.
He's out! He got that fish!
Anyways, to make a long story short, that same exact program that I used at 15, I used again at 23 years old to get myself a 43-inch approach vertical jump.
And I figured, holy shit,
why not give you guys the same exact exercises that I used to get there, but also talk about the mistakes that I made along the way and what I could have done better to get my vertical even higher so that all of you guys can do the same exact exercises and get yourself a 40+ inch vertical jump as well. Let's go.
Gotta make sure I don't get any splinters in my...
The first exercise that I used was squats, but not just any squats. Ooh, box squats. Why box squats? Well, that's what the program that I used back then told me to do. And why don't I just give you the program that I used back in the day? Well, that would be stealing. And number two is because it literally doesn't exist anymore. It was over 18 years ago at this point that my mommy bought me this program, and I literally could not find the program anywhere. Yes, I understand. I'm old as fuck. Fun thing about squats is that they can get you some great gains no matter the variation that you do. Box squats, however, are really meant to break up the eccentric portion of the squat and then the concentric portion of the squat. So we squat down onto the box, pause for a split second, and then explode up. Anyways, box squats are an excellent exercise for you to use to increase your vertical jump. It's a big compound movement, multiple joints, multiple muscle groups trained, especially if you are breaking up the eccentric and the concentric portion of the lift, being explosive on the way up. Oh yeah, I almost forgot that I was giving you all of the sets and the reps for these exercises as well. So back in the day when I did this program, there were two main workouts per week, and that's it. Monday and Thursday, or Monday and Friday. So we squatted twice a week. One low volume, high intensity day and one high volume, high intensity day. The high volume day was done later in the week on Thursday and Friday so that you had the weekend to rest. The high volume day was 6 sets of 10, 8, 6, 4, 4, 2. Ooh. And the low volume day was 8 sets of 3 reps. The second exercise that I did was band squats. Now, was this the most important exercise that I did back in the day? No, however, it is still gonna get you some good gains, especially if you are a beginner or an intermediate athlete. Now, the great thing about most band resistant exercises is that there's the least amount of tension on the band as you are in the deepest range of motion where you are weakest. Then as you stand up, getting into the ranges of motion where you are stronger, there is more tension on the band. However, back in the day when I used to do these, I would do these for 3 sets of 20 reps, which is a little bit high, but we're focusing on the efficiency of the stretch shortening cycle for these. So 3 sets, 20 reps, and I would do them as fast as I possibly could, going a little bit further down than the specific joint angle that I use to jump. So think about the angle of your ankles, knees, and hips that you use to do a 2-foot vertical jump. I would go down a little bit further than that. So essentially a little bit further down than a quarter squat, and it would look like this. Oh. So is this an essential exercise that you need to use to increase your vertical jump? Probably not. However, it did get me a lot of gains when I was young. Exercise number 3 is very similar, and those are band good mornings. And I did want to mention that you don't have to use the heaviest band. You can start with a lighter band and work your way up. And for these, what I used to do was 3 sets of 20 reps, and these are more posterior chain focused. So what you're going to do is hinge at the hip, act like there's a rope pulling your hips back, feel a stretch in your hamstrings, and then give explosive hip extension. Once again, I would do these as explosively as I possibly can, and it would look like this. Exercise number 4 were step-ups. Now there were 3 different variations of step-ups that I did. Number 1 is a front step-up, just like this. The second variation was a lateral step-up, just like this. And the third variation was a crossover step-up, just like this. Now I am going to group these 3 different variations into one single exercise, which is the step up. However, with the lateral step ups, you're going to be strengthening through ankle inversion. And then with the crossover step up, you're going to be strengthening more through ankle eversion. So what I would normally do is 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps of step ups, making sure that you are being explosive on the way up. Same exact sets and reps for the lateral step ups and for the crossover step ups. And I would rotate these every single workout. So front step ups on Monday, lateral step ups on Thursday, crossover step ups next Monday, and then back to front step ups next Thursday, and then rotate on and on and on from there. The 5th exercise that I would do back in the day were single leg RDLs. Believe it or not, I did not touch a barbell RDL or barbell Romanian deadlift for the longest time, which I do think was a big mistake. If you can do barbell RDLs, I would mix those in with the single leg RDLs, but the sets and reps for these single leg RDLs were the same exact as the step ups. I would do 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps, going slow on the way down. Keep your balance, focus on that stretch in the hamstring, and then explode up. Slow on the way down, explode up. Sometimes I would get crazy and use a slant board for these single leg RDLs. Actually, I didn't have a slant board back in the day, so I would just prop up a 45-pound plate on another 45-pound plate, and then similar to the step ups, I would go ahead and do these single leg RDLs, strengthening through ankle inversion and ankle eversion. I did tell you guys that I was going to talk about some of the mistakes that I made with this programming. And for single leg RDLs, if you are always doing single leg RDLs with a slant board or even without a slant board, then balance for a lot of people can be the limiting factor. And if you do a double leg regular barbell RDL, balance is not the limiting factor, so you can focus on moving that weight as explosively as possible or going a lot heavier than you can with single leg RDLs, therefore strengthening your posterior chain even more. If you didn't get arrested with the band Good Mornings, then you will definitely get arrested with these band pull-throughs. Now, this exercise is great for explosive hip extension, great for the post chain, the hamstrings, the glutes, etc. Once again, this exercise is going to be the toughest at the top, range of motion with the most tension on the band. And if you can't see why you're going to get arrested by now, you will soon. Make sure that you focus on hinging at the hip, letting the resistance band pull you back, feeling that stretch into your hamstrings, butt back, chest up, and then exploding into the top of the rep, just like you do when you explode up into a vertical jump. And if you couldn't have guessed the sets and reps by now, what I used to do for all banded exercises was 3 sets of 20 reps as explosive as I could. Exercise number 7 was hyperextensions. As you can see, there was a ton of post-chain work in this program. Now for the sets and reps for this one, I would do 2 to 3 sets of 20 reps. Yes, I know that's a lot. Now, as I mentioned, this exercise is going to be great to strengthen the post chain, so your hamstrings, your glutes, and your low back, the entire post chain is going to be strengthened with this one. Now, while we're here at the hyperextension machine, if you thought any of these exercises up until now were a little bit weird, then you ain't seen nothing yet, because this next exercise is reverse hyperextensions, and we are going to perform them just like this. Now, best case scenario is that you have a reverse hyperextension machine at your gym, but not many gyms actually have that piece of equipment. So the sets and reps for this one are, you guessed it, 2 to 3 sets of 20 reps. And the most important coaching cue that I could possibly give you is to make sure that your boys are not above the pad. Make sure that they are below the pad, or if your hyperextension machine has a hole in it like this one, you can consider yourself lucky. Exercise number 9 that helped me get a 43-inch vertical jump were banded walks. Now, technically, these are 3 different exercises, but we are just going to combine them into one and call them banded walks. The first variation of banded walks that I used to do are called monster walks. And I used to do these for 3 sets of 10 steps forward and then 3 sets of 10 steps backward. The second variation is lateral side steps, and I would do this one for 3 sets of 10 steps one direction and then turn around, I guess not turn around, just go 3 sets of 10 steps the opposite direction. And then the last variation of banded walks that I used to do, I like to call half moon walks or half circle walks. And I would do these for 3 sets of 10 steps forward and then 3 sets of 10 steps backwards. Some people do have trouble with these half moon walks, so just understand that for monster walks, you start with your feet together, step diagonally, bring your opposite foot to it. Step diagonally, bring your opposite foot to it. Whereas for the half moon walks, you don't start with your feet together, you start with your feet out wide, and then you do a half moon shape or a half circle shape, and then you go ahead and do the same thing with the opposite foot. Then when you're going backwards, you do the same exact thing backwards. Make sure that for all of these banded walks, you are pushing your knees out, not allowing your knees to collapse in. Then you're going to squat down, step as you push your knee out, focusing on that glute medius. And then you could put the band around your ankles to make this exercise a little bit harder. Put it around your knees to make this exercise a little bit easier. Use an easier band or a lighter band if you want it to be easier. Use a heavier band or double up on the bands if you want it to be hard. So why are banded walks so beneficial for athletes? Well, because banded walks target the side of the dump truck, AKA the gluteus medius, which is an extremely important muscle for athletes to train, yet a severely undertrained muscle in most athletes. The primary function of the glute medius is to abduct the hip. It is crucial for maintaining hip stability, and a weak glute medius can lead to a lot of injuries further down the chain, especially the knees. A strong glute medius is also going to be very beneficial for balance and stability and help you optimize your performance in athletic movements such as running, cutting, changing directions in a game, and jumping. The next exercise that I did were banded quarter squat jumps. Now, normally I would use lighter bands in this, but I forgot them at home. So what you're gonna do is put 2 heavy dumbbells over here, 2 heavy dumbbells over here, put the bands around the outside dumbbells, and then you're going to do quarter squat jumps as high as you can, repeated for 3 sets of 6 reps each. If you're new to these and you've never done these before, you might want to stick the landing and reset every single time. But once you get used to these and you've been doing them for a while, go ahead and just do these repeated. And as a bonus, just to be completely honest with all of you as to what I used to do, is after my 3 sets, I would take the bands off and then I would do repeated squat jumps without the band. Exercise number 11 that helped me get a 43-inch vertical jump was standing box jumps. Now, admittedly, this was probably the exercise that helped me the least, but I did say that I was going to give you all 12 of the exercises that I used to do, so this is part of the 12. Now, what I would do back in the day, which I still do think is an efficient way to train, was contrast training. So I would do my box squats, then I would immediately go and do my set of box jumps. And normally it would be sets of 3 to 4 reps of box jumps after my last 3 to 4 sets of squats. Now, the very last exercise that I would do, oh yeah, I ain't using that. The last exercise that I would do was explosive step ups. So I already showed you front step ups with the weights. Now this time I would do, this is a plyometric, obviously. I would explode off of the box as high as I possibly could. And I would also do this one contrasted with my box squats. So 3 to 4 reps of box jumps, superset with my last 3 to 4 sets of box squats on Mondays. And then on Thursdays or Fridays, I would do 4 to 6 reps each leg of explosive step ups, superset with my last 3 to 4 sets of box squats. Combine this with playing a ton of basketball and I got a 43-inch vertical jump. But now let me talk about a couple of the mistakes that I made, and I'll give you some advice that might help you get even higher. There are 2 crucial mistakes to this plan, and number 1 is the lack of plyometrics. You see, box jumps and explosive step-ups were the only 2 plyometrics that I did at all in my entire programming, but I was still able to hit a 43-inch vertical jump, likely because I was playing basketball all the time, and I was an undertrained athlete, which for beginners and intermediate athletes, it is way easier to get gains on your vertical. But if I were you, I would definitely add in some more plyometrics, and now I did a whole video on a plyometric tier list talking about the most beneficial plyometrics to increase your vertical jump, but I will list just a few so that you can increase your vertical jump even more. Sprints are going to be extremely important for you to increase your vertical jump. There is no exercise that exists that improves your max velocity more than a sprint. Single leg hops are going to be extremely important for you to increase your vertical jump. Now you have to start with little baby hops and then gradually work your way into hops for max height or hops for max distance. Power skips, another underrated exercise, especially for 1-foot jumpers. Then you got bounding, depth jumps, drop jumps, seated box jumps, max approach touches, dunks. Add some plyometrics in because that's a lot of strength training with just a little bit of plyo. The second big mistake with this program back in the day where there were no calf raises. There's 3 main strength movements that you need to be hitting, and that is a squat, a hinge, and a calf raise. So back in the day, I was completely neglecting one of the big 3. So You shouldn't do that. Avoid mistake number 2 that I made, and make sure that you do your calf raises. And this is standing calf raises, seated calf raises, double leg calf raises, and single leg calf raises. And there you have it. These were the 12 exercises that I used back in the day to get myself a 43-inch vertical jump. And for as much of an idiot as I make myself out to be, I actually train elite high school, college, and professional athletes, mainly basketball players, and I teach everybody and their mother to increase the vertical jump. So if you want a complete system that can help you increase your vertical and gain 6 to 12 inches on your vertical jump or your money back, then get my vertical jump secret system. This is the exact system that I used to get almost every single player on my high school team dunking. It's how I helped one of my athletes gain 14 inches on his vertical jump in 2 years. And I say 2 years because the vertical jump secret system is 2 years long. This is not some get rich quick, gain 9 to 15 inches on your vertical jump in 4 weeks. This is a system for serious and dedicated athletes only that will help you gain 6 to 12 inches on your vertical jump if you are willing to have discipline and consistency over a long period of time. Anyways, it's dark outside. I've been here all day, so I am going home, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.